Alright guys, here's the gear for today. Always the same in August, right? Chiseled Face Midnight Stag is the soap, splash, and cologne for today's shave. The razor is the Timeless Open Comb Stainless Steel 68 Gap. Double-edged safety razor. The Samoga Owners Club is the brush, and this is the Taj handle. And I think we're looking at about 125 uses, something like that. The description of the vehicle, the video will have that specific, as well as the count of the razor blade. I checked it just now, and so my card is now accurate. Today is going to be the 595th shave on the Nacet. Sometimes I forget to put the dot on there after, so I'm really glad that I kind of video my shaves and am able to use my computer app to keep track of things. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have forgotten some uses and that sort of thing. All right, let me wash my face. One of you guys had a recent comment that I thought was good. I do mention other soaps, other vendors. Yesterday I talked about Shave Nation and Geo Fat Boy, and then somebody else asked in the comment, what soaps do you recommend? And so that's a fun thing to talk about, right? Because I definitely mention certain ones a lot, not because I love them especially, but just because they're kind of the ubiquitous go-to guys. Excuse me. And so let's talk about that a little bit today. Got that saturated brush. Let's try loading for 8 swirls. Last time 10 swirls gave me plenty of lather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Medium pressure, not really light pressure, but maybe between medium and light is kind of my pressure when I load. And of course, that's something that's really very customizable when you are loading. If you want to pick up more soap, you can load a little heavier. You can choose to do more swirls. You can choose to load for a certain number of seconds. You know, whatever you want to do there. If you load really lightly, you know, load for longer. If you load kind of heavy, then maybe not for as long. So right away we get that kind of dry, airy lather from this particular soap base from Chiseled Face. As far as I know, it seems to be the original base, tallow base from them. I'm going to add some water. That looks like a lot, and it is, relatively speaking. It calms down that airiness, and it starts to bring it into the emulsion a little better. So as we mix here, to recommend soaps to you guys, that was something I just decided to do today, and so I didn't have time to go through my big old library of soaps. And so what I did instead, I figure a good starting point might be the Maggards website samples page. Maggard Razors is the site.com, and they have a samples page right across. If you go to the home page, right across the top are the little tabs, and near the end there's clearance page, which is always good to check out. Stirling Soaps has a great clearance page with the stuff they're phasing out, and their stuff's already at really good prices, and so I often am checking out their clearance page. But Maggards also has a samples page near there as well. I believe the URL is maggardrazors.com/collections/samples. And so look at all that. We put all that water in there. Definitely not too much. That is not a sloppy, wet lather at all, right? Let's add just a little bit more. And so I was looking at the samples page. I've got a maintenance guide coming later today. And so I didn't have time to go through and look at both the aftershaves and the soaps. And so today's talk is going to be primarily about the soaps. Ones that I recommend or don't recommend. I'm not going to advise you on any that I haven't tried before. So if I say yay or nay, then it's because I've tried it. So, and I decided to separate, instead of going down the list alphabetically and saying yay or nay, I grouped them into good, as in feel free to try these guys, I recommend them. Then there's the mediocre, and these are generally the older bases that haven't come along. This is one of them that haven't come along into the modern era. And I'm not talking about just skincare, like Barrister and Mann has. I still like their glissant base as one of my favorites because its priority was slickness, is the way it feels to me. And it didn't focus as much on the skincare because I don't need that. And you may need that. And so the more modern bases are going to be for you because butters and oils and things like that are being added. Chemicals and stuff that are just good and nurturing to your skin are being added to these modern soap bases. And so if you have dry skin or, rough skin or whatever it is that, where you might need a better nurturing product, then these new modern soap bases are going to be right up your alley. But me, I focus on just that purity of slickness. I like a lightly creamy feel for a luxury feel. Those are my priorities. If you are a utilitarian shaver and you want to mix up a lather quickly, sometimes these old school bases, that coconut oil will whip up a lather kind of quickly. And so that might be your priority. And so those may be more geared for you. And so we'll talk a little bit about those. Then there are a few on Maggard's page that were kind of pricey. And so we'll talk about those. Then there's the ones that are overpriced. And those are kind of the sections. So let's start, make sure we have time for the good ones. A&E, Ariana and Evans, I've used a few of theirs. They get a little flack because some of their label art is risque. And I agree with that. I'm not gonna have something on my bath counter that my family might see. That there was one about a woman's form kind of part. It wasn't fully nude, but it was risque, and so that's the kind of thing I wouldn't want to have. I wouldn't really want to have that at all. But even if I thought that was okay for me to have, I wouldn't want to have it around for my family to see it, like on my counter or anything like that. And so they definitely got some pushback from portions of the shaving community. Ariana and Evans did. But they seem to be fine with it. And they don't really care what people think in terms of people who object to that. They might have the attitude of, well, just don't buy our product. And that's fine. That's their right to do that, right? But in terms of the performance of their base, as of several years ago when I tried it, it was a good base. It gives a nice lather, good kind of slickness, and it was easy to find that midpoint between a nice, slick, high-performance lather while still maintaining that luxury feel. When I say something is a good soap, that is what I mean. The better soaps are going to excel at balancing those two aspects. It needs to let me add enough water to it where I get so much good slickness. But then, by the time I add that water to get the slickness I want, it needs to not lose a lightly creamy, at least, texture. Because that gives that feeling of luxury. that I really enjoy. So that is my standard. It's important for you to know that, because if our standards differ, you have maybe a higher priority, then my advice may not be good for you, right? And that's okay. So A&E, Barrister and Mann, everything they do is awesome. And I'm not just a fanboy for them. I am a fan of them. And his scent design, his soap bases are terrific. His new one is Omnibus, and it is really nice. It is more geared for, it's kind of like the Declaration Grooming Milk Steak, where I was able to feel a difference in the kind of slickness it delivers. And I might prefer older versions. Like with Declaration, I prefer the Bison base. But, you know, he moved on. But still, Declaration Grooming's Milk Steak and Barrister and Mann's Omnibus are still very good bases. Very good. And Will does a great job. He does some dupes, but he does so much other creative scent work that his scents are really well thought out. And so sometimes he throws back to the classics. Sometimes he just goes for something new. Cella. The Cella is actually in my mediocre category for that old school Cella formulation and that traditional almond scent that they have. But they created a new one called Bio, and it's the blue one, I think. And that one is actually, I think that's worthy to be in this good category. It's not the old school mix, and it had those features of the creaminess with the performance and the slickness. It beat the old school formulation by a little bit, and so that's enough to have me put it in this category. DR Harris. They don't have any hard soap samples on the Maggard webpage. And the hard soap is what I've tried from DR Harris. It's an English company, and they're one of the few of the English soap companies that has not outsourced the making of their hard soaps. Trumper, Taylor of Old Bond Street, True Fit and Hill, they've all outsourced their hard pucks to somebody else. And it's not as good as it used to be. And many of them are still kind of riding on their coattails, their history, and maximizing on that instead of developing good products that compete in terms of the performance of the soap and or the cream. I have not tried the aftershaves from DR Harris, and I have not tried the creams. And so they have I might actually want to. I might throw one of those creams on my shopping cart from the samples page there one day. Should have done that the other day when I placed an order, because I've never tried their creams. I like 3 scents from them: Arlington, Windsor, and Marlborough. Arlington and Marlborough are my favorite from them. I really, really like Marlborough. In terms of me and what I like for scents, usually it's very masculine, woody, a little bit of amber sometimes, tobacco. I like some food type scents, but musky, heavy scents. I like lighter general purpose, cologne type scents as well, but nothing florally at all is what I personally wear. The English companies do like to make florally stuff, because some guys like that, and apparently in years and decades past, more guys liked that than like it now. And so, like I found the sandalwood from Taylor of Old Bond Street to just smell like a toilet freshener, a soap cake that goes in toilets. It smelled industrial and cleanery and floral, and I just couldn't stand it. To me, it didn't smell anything like sandalwood. And I think DR Harris is probably the same way. And it's just because that's how that generation viewed sandalwood as a traditional English scent. And indeed, Barrister and Mann sometimes would duplicate that as well in some regards. So you'll have some sandalwoods like the Perazzo that is, to me, the sandalwood that I like, and a more woody type sandalwood without floral overtones and things like that. Let's see. Declaration Grooming, I've already mentioned them. Their milk steak base is tremendous. Definitely recommend post shaves from them. Barrister and Mann post shave is really good. Cella has a post shave lotion that I really enjoyed. I think it's probably good for your skin, but I really enjoyed the scent. It was just a general purpose scent, and I just found it masculine, not obtrusive, but interesting and enjoyable. Unfortunately, I didn't use it up enough, and it did go bad after about a year. So only buy that one if you're going to be able to use it up before it goes bad. All right, I think we're good there. Henri A. Victoria. That is a Canadian, I believe. Get a good rinse there. And they had a vegan base for a while that I would put in the mediocre category. And they have some scents that are interesting, and they definitely have a good number of scents if you like the feminine side of the shaving scent spectrum. But they also have some masculine ones too, like Cognac and Cuban Cigars is one of the ones that I enjoy from them. And they created several years ago, a base for, it's a triple milled tallow soap. I know it's triple milled. I assume that means it's tallow. And that is a very good performing base. Definitely recommend that one. And so that's why that is in the good category, the good list here. House of Mammoth, excellent. Recommend him. Ben's the guy who does that one. And he's creative. He does a lot of unique, original work. And his aftershaves are tremendous. His post-shave balms are high performance, very nutrition, a lot of good nutrition for your skin with him. And his splashes are really good as well, a lot of skin food in there too. And his scents, his soap performance is amazing. That Tusk base might still be what he's using. And that's just one of the best bases out there because it does have that slickness that I want. And it keeps that creaminess while still holding on to all that water. And so it's one of the top bases for me. And a great thing about Ben is that with his products, when you buy, a certain amount of money goes to help fight human trafficking. I believe it's one of the New York City charities to fight human trafficking. Restore NYC, maybe that one's it. So highly recommend House of Mammoth. I love so many of his scents. Maggard's house brand is made by Through the Fire Fine Craft. And the lady who does that knows how to make soap. That is a good brand, good soap formulation she has. It competes with these other guys. The Maggard house brand doesn't have a big variety of scents, but they got the classics and some interesting stuff. And so it's definitely worth the money for sure. If you think one of those scents might be right up your alley, it's a good base. Very good. I'm really glad that Maggard chose them to do the private labeling. Noble Otter, very good performer. Working my brush on the towel here as I talk. The Noble Otter, in the certain sense, like Lone Star, Plunder, the ones that seem like they're going to be stronger, it's good. But the ones that seem a little bit more calm seem to be quite weak, and so I don't like those soaps because it doesn't create around me a smell that I can kind of enjoy during the shave. And so I tend not to buy as much Noble Otter stuff unless I know it's going to, by nature of the scent, it's going to be a little on the stronger side. But the performance is very good, definitely worth trying out if you see something in there that you like. Orbit is highly regarded from them, and it's got a cooling agent in it, so maybe a good summer scent, might be that one. Texas is one that I really like from Noble Otter, Plunder, like I mentioned as well. Zingari Man is the last in the good category, and this is another one much like Noble Otter where it is a little on the weak side. I really like the notes of things like, I think, Black Watch and or Watchman, can't remember now. Night Watch, maybe. I may be confusing some terms. It was at a lighthouse, and I was so interested in getting that, and then it was almost like it was unscented. There just wasn't a lot of soap scent to it. And one of the reasons why people do that, Noble Otter and Zingari Man probably do it this way. I know that Stubble Buster did that with their soaps. When you reduce the fragrance oils that go into your soap, that's kinder for the general population's skin. Some people react to those oils of the fragrance. And so, especially in the case of Zingari Man, she's a skincare professional. Heather, I believe, is her name. And she is focused on good quality ingredients to help your skin. And so, especially if you have rough skin or dry skin, then I definitely recommend her products. You're just not going to get a really strong scent during the shave. It'll be just hints of that kind of fragrance. And they also may be configuring them so that you have to load heavy. And maybe they're talking about those face latherers who load really heavy and use 3 times as much soap as I do. And so maybe then the scent would be a little stronger. But very good base. Very good woman behind the company, and very good skincare qualifications with her. Her balm is highly, highly regarded as good for your skin. So there we go with Zingari Man. But just weak scents a little bit. So then let's get to let's do the expensive Abate La Mantilla. It's one of the first samples listed on the site for Maggard. And I think that's on the higher price point. A couple of the soaps that I've tried from them were several years ago, and they were a little on the softer side, but they had very good performance, as I recall. And I tried one that was Botero. It was a leathery type scent that I really enjoyed. So I recommend them, although they're a little more pricey. The Chiseled Face, what I'm using now, the brand, they also made another base called Silk Tallow, and that's not this one. And it is here in the expensive section because I have to use 2 or 3 times as much product to get the lather using the Silk Tallow base. Now, when I do get that lather on my face and it's all put together and I've loaded way more than I thought and it turns out to be the right amount, it's a wonderful lather. It has all those things that I talked about that I wanted. Feels luxurious. It's just terrific. It's the lather I wish Chiseled Face would make. Unfortunately, it takes 2 or 3 times as much product, and so that's why I'm going to put them in the expensive category. And the cool thing was, Ron at Chiseled Face was forthcoming when he released that base, and he told people that you're going to have to use more product here. It's a softer soap, maybe. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he wasn't hiding the fact that you're going to need to use more product with this new base. But I tell you what, if it's really nice. And combine that with his scents, love his scents. And so, that's definitely one that I would spend money on, and I have. I need to get the Midnight Stag in the Silk Tallow. I don't have that. I've got Loyal, and I've got maybe one other. The last one in the expensive category is Holy Cow. It's spelled weird. It's spelled W-H-O-L-L-Y and then K-A-W, but it's pronounced Holy Cow, and I have confirmed that. That is another one where I have to use twice as much product to get a good lather, and it is a very nice lather, just like the Silk Tallow. It's got those great attributes that I like. It just takes more product to get it. Good for your skin, great performing lather, all those good things. I like the Rebel scent. They had that sample online just now. Cuero Oscuro, that's a spicy one. Padre Leon is an old one that has gone away, but that was very interesting. They also have some floral options, kind of like Henri et Victoria. They have some, if you like the floral end of the spectrum and the kind of more feminine side of the shaving industry, then definitely check out Holy Cow for that. So we've covered okay, now let's cover the mediocre section. Perazzo. This one says, this is the super formula. I don't know quite how I'm going to rate the super formula yet. I've only tried it once. But their non-super formula, the one they've had for a long time, it's just not a great performer. You can, by the time you push enough water into it, it kind of either breaks or loses its creaminess. It's just not, it's hard to get as much slickness out of it as you can get through all these others I've already mentioned. But it's serviceable, especially if you can find it. Sometimes you can find it at a discount store. It can be cheap. So, and I'll say I love the red scent. The sandalwood that's in that red Perazzo, I love that. And so that is why I have this guy right here. I rarely ever use it just because of the performance. But that scent, that's the kind of sandalwood that I enjoy. And I just smell it every once in a while. Henri and Victoria Vegan, kind of already talked about that, but they're kind of original vegan formulation on the mediocre side. Chiseled Face, the OG Tallow here, kind of similar. By the time you push a lot of water into it, it kind of loses its creaminess and luxury feel. Cella, the original formulation, similarly the same thing. Katie's Bubbles, their vegan formulation, they have some other formulations, but the one they've had for many years is the one I'm talking about. And it may belong in the good section. I just haven't used it in a while. But as I recall, it wasn't quite as nice as Southern Witchcraft's. Because their vegan base is better, in my opinion. But Katie's Bubbles has a good variety of scents. Some of them I really like, and so it definitely will give you a decent lather to get things done. Captain's Choice is another one that is kind of just the same boat. Got some interesting scents, but very much like the Chiseled Face original mix there with the coconut oil type base. I don't think he's got a new base out. Okay, and that's all the mediocre guys. So all that mediocre list is, you might be interested in those. If you like the coconut oil type soaps, it tends to be the trend for that group. You might be interested there. If they make a scent that you really like that you can't find in maybe a higher performing soap, then buy those guys. Support those businesses, especially if they're the smaller businesses. And so there we go. Lastly, the overpriced and probably not worth it. And again, we're dealing with the samples section, the samples page, on the Maggard.com website, the MaggardRazors.com website. Castle Forbes, GF Trumper, MDC, Martin de Condre, and Taylor of Old Bond Street. And it's really funny. Those are all older makers. I think they're probably all, except for maybe MDC, because I don't think MDC has changed their formulation. It's a simple formulation. But the other three, Castle Forbes, Trumper, and Taylor of Old Bond Street, they're just depending on their past fame to continue. And because all of them have creams, and the creams just don't perform nearly as well as, in many cases, they don't even perform as well as the ones in my mediocre section that I just talked to you about. And they definitely don't perform as well as the ones in the good section. Sometimes they have good scents, like I told you yesterday about Taylor of Old Bond Street and how I really like that German Street scent. And so that would be a reason to go there. So yeah, go to Castle Forbes. If they have a scent that you like, can't find it anywhere else, you're just not going to get as good a performance, but you'll get a good shave. You'll get an all right shave. It just won't be as slick as some of these other soaps will be. And then Martin de Condré is expensive, but it's a hard soap, and it lasts a good long time. And it does last long enough. The way I used it, I did a whole month with it a few years ago. So I know. I tried to make that lather work, but I declare it was worse than most of those mediocre soaps in terms of trying to find that line. I'm adding water, adding water, adding water, and then the creaminess is declining at the same time. And by the time I added enough water to make it slick how I wanted it, the creaminess had dropped away, and it was almost to the point of breaking the soap. And there was I could never find the juxtaposition of those two metrics. And if I wanted that luxury feel, if I wanted a lightly creamy feel, then it didn't have enough water in it to give me a good slick protection on my skin. And so I felt a little more irritated. And so to me, that's one of the worst guys in this whole thing, because he's expensive, but he doesn't deliver the goods. And that's just my opinion, my take on it. If you like your lathers drier, then you're in the money, because MDC is a great way to go. And that, I believe, is it. You want to see my page? One note that I made: use the AI, like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, whatever you use. If you're curious about any of the aftershaves, or even the soaps too, if you're curious about an ingredient, paste it in and say, what does this ingredient add to a shaving soap? And then paste it in. Or with an aftershave, some of the aftershaves like Dr. Harris, I could definitely recommend them in terms of the scent, but does it have any skin food for you? Well, take the ingredient list for the Dr. Harris aftershaves, paste it into the chat GPT or whatever, and say, which ingredients in this list are good for skin care and skin health? Or is it just alcohol and fragrance? Now, sometimes if something is inexpensive, then in many cases, alcohol and fragrance is all a lot of guys have had for decades. I know that the Pinode, Clubman, that sort of thing, that whole Pinode collection of aftershaves is that way. It's basically just the scent and the alcohol. The good news is all the people in that good list, they add skin food to their lineup. Chiseled Face, he's in the mediocre list, but his aftershave splash has got some good skin food in it. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and apply this splash. Fine accoutrements. The classic hard pucks are great. That's that awesome pure slickness aspect that I like. And they used to be only $12, $13 a puck, and they would last a long time, triple milled. But they had to discontinue that because the factory shut down that was making them. And they switched to an overpriced, in my opinion, crope that it just is probably not worth your time. And many of the scents are dupes, and so you can go to Stirling and get the same scent, but in a much better base and a cheaper product. So it's kind of a win-win. But if Fine makes a scent of soap that you like and can't find anywhere else, then go for it. It's a good performer. It works well. Stirling. Yeah, I'm glad I had Stirling on the list there. Because Maggard doesn't have Stirling samples, because Stirling operates on a value basis in terms of he's putting those prices as low as he can because he wants to serve the community. Rod does. He wants to make sure he gives people reasonable prices for good quality shaving products, and that's what he excels at. And so to get Stirling samples, you have to turn away from Maggard, go over to stirlingsoaps.com, I believe is the URL, and you get, I don't have one on hand, but you used to get these little slices of the soap puck. I think after COVID, he had to switch it to maybe half the soap puck. Used to get, for a couple dollars, you would get enough soap to last you a month. And so you don't get quite as much, but still, half a month is probably what you get, and that's a great value. And his beef tallow base is excellent. If you've watched my channel at all, I love Stirling because the quality and the value are just at the top. And so you'll pay more to get something like Barrister and Mann. Is the lather performance twice like the price might be? No, it's not. It's just a little bit better. And so in terms of the value, Stirling is the way to go. So if you're looking for samples, highly recommend Stirling. A lot of dupes over there in terms of maybe your favorite cologne. He might have a soap and product for that. So there you go. Let us do, I hear my dog barking, my friend's dog, and so I bet that's the maintenance guy. So I better go. You guys have been a good shave. Hopefully talking about these brands will help you out. A&E, listen to the good ones for you again. A&E, Barrister and Mann, Cella Bio, DR Harris, Declaration Grooming, Henri and Victoria, the triple milled version of the soap, House of Mammoth, Maggard's house brand, Noble Otter, and Zingari Man are the ones, the soaps from Maggard Razors that I can recommend without any kind of qualification, with full support. Take care now. Good night.